I hate to say it, but most people are they're just mediocre and they're just sort of average and loser like. And I'm not saying this on a human level. I'm not saying I'm better than them in front of Allah's eyes. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I am saying is that I just want to live a different life. I want to achieve something different from most people around me. And I feel like no one seems to understand what I mean by this. I feel like everyone is just sort of hardwired to think one way. And whenever I explain to someone, oh, this is how I want to live my life, they just brush it off. They try to change the topic. Like every time someone asks me, oh, what do you want to do when you're older? I tell them, I want to do business. I want to make money. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to have a positive impact in the world. They just seem to brush off and not believe anything I say. They just expect me to tell them, oh yeah, I want to get a degree and get into a random corporate office that I have zero interest in, and then get a wife that I have to submit to, and then get a mortgage, and then work till I'm 60, and then go to Umrah or Hajj when I'm like 65 years old about to die. Like, I'm sorry, I don't want to live like that. And I know everything is willed by the sake of Allah. Everything's willed by Allah. I understand. But Allah changes the state of someone's favor until they try to change themselves first. Allah will help you if you help yourself first. Why would Allah help someone who just sits around doing nothing? That is not fair. And Allah is all just. Allah sees everything. So if He sees someone working his ass off, why would He not help him if it's good for him?
وسيق الذين اتقوا ربهم إلى الجنة زمرا حتى إذا جاءوها وفتحت أبوابها وقال لهم خزنتها سلام عليكم طبتم فادخلوها خالدين.
So I realize that most people, I'll be honest, they're just normal. A lot of them really just don't like their life that much. I think the average population, they're not as fulfilled. I think they have a lot of mental health issues and they're dealing with a lot of mental health drawbacks. You know, if you look at the average population, a lot of them, again, they're just mediocre. Most of them are almost semi-depressed because there isn't nothing, they're not really achieved, right? And they wish to achieve more, they wish to be in better shape, but they can't get themselves to be disciplined. And what is so interesting is the fact that despite the average population not being fulfilled with their lives, despite them not really enjoying their lives, they still defend their ways more than any other way. They still think that this entrepreneur is scamming, and they still believe that the reason why David Goggins has such a physique is because of his African American genetics. I had to put that in. The average population, the reason why they are still average, it's because of their habits. It's because of their routines. It's because they still seek so much pleasure, and they think that discipline in this stuff doesn't work and they need a magic pill, and that's the reason why they still stay average, because they can't take accountability for themselves. And so you might be wondering, why are you speaking about the average routines and why are you really ranting about average people so much? And it's not just about me ranting about average people, but it's to connect to the fact that I didn't want to be average. And so the topic of this video, the reason why I cut most people off, and this isn't to sound arrogant, I really don't want to be arrogant here, okay? But the biggest reason is because I don't want to be average. But if I stick with the average mentality, and if I have friends and have my surroundings, everyone just, pushing to be average, then I'll be average as a result. Like, I will just be an average person. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith, that you will take on the religion of your best friend. So be careful who you befriend, right? Boom. Right there, you will take on the religion, let alone bad habits, let alone all of this. So just imagine for a second. I mean, there's a reason why there's a very, very famous saying, which is called, you become the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with. This is the truth. This is backed by the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is why I cut most people off. In fact, this video is not me about ranting, actually. This video is me teaching you some lessons that I learned from my mistakes. That you don't need to cut everyone off, but there are certain people and there are certain mindsets that are holding you back. And if you're someone who wants to achieve some level of growth, if you want to become more disciplined, if you want to have a great body and just again be more masculine as a human being. And so that's why I'll be letting you know, and I'll be giving you the reason why I cut most people off and what I did instead to get away from that mentality. As you know, this is a message I push on this channel, to not live a mediocre lifestyle, to get away from mediocrity, to get away from the average defeater mentality lifestyle, to stop living like a loser. And I'm sorry I have to say this. I sound so arrogant. But this comes from a person who was the biggest losers, who was legitimately destroyed and drowning myself in bad habits every single night and every single day. I was the one scrolling the most. I was the one eating the worst food. I was the fattest one out of my friends. So this is coming from someone who was the average of the average, who was the lowest of the low actually. So yeah, I might sound a little arrogant, but this is just because I changed my life around with the permission of Allah. And you can do the same if you want to be someone who doesn't want to live a regular and mediocre lifestyle. So let's just have a conversation and I'll get to the reason why I cut most people off. Being average has never been something that I truly wanted in my life. In fact, no one wants to be average. If you look at the average guy's life, he's struggling with money. He's struggling with jobs. He wants more money. If you gave a guy $1 million for free, anyone would take that. But the average person will stay average because of his actions and because of his beliefs. Go to work, come home, eat trash food, live in a dark, musty room, be fat, hate the way you look, hate your life, have no fulfillment. That's what an average life is. And remember, wasting time is being ungrateful to Allah. Being a true mu'min is to use the resources that Allah gave us and to make the most of them, instead of making excuses and living a trash life when we don't try. So the reason why I cut almost everyone off was because I was really depressed and I wanted to improve myself. I was sort of tired of living the average life. I used to wake up and instantly drown myself in bad habits. I used to be the one who destroyed myself in bad habits. I'm talking about waking up and scrolling and doing things that destroyed my life. I would be depressed, sluggish, lazy, groggy. I would always procrastinate. I would never do good in school. And I was just living in a very dark and musty room. No one liked me, really. And I felt like a degenerate. And then I wish I could say that the reason why I decided to improve myself was because I was driven and I wanted to be this millionaire guy. Honestly, the reason why I truly started to improve myself was because seeing my parents work. I mean, I saw them work endlessly, hours and hours to provide for me. They worked their asses off to provide for me, to keep me healthy. And yet, I was there being fed. I was there being given almost anything he wanted. And I was that same son who was so privileged. But what I ended up doing is I ended up wasting my life. I wasted everything they did for me. It was like they were doing everything for me, but I wasn't doing anything for them. And tell me, how's that fair? And from acknowledging that and from seeing that I want to do something great so I can provide for my parents, so I can help them. I never wanted to be an average person again. I decided from then on, I would improve myself. I would improve my mental health. I would improve my discipline. I would be a man. Finally, I can be a man. That's what I wanted in my life. And yeah, months and months, I was more disciplined than I was ever before. I felt more fulfilled than I was ever before. But one thing was that I couldn't relate with everyone. I couldn't relate with anyone. My friends would message me, yo, let's go outside. It's Friday night. Let's go. We're gonna have some fun. It's gonna be so much fun hanging out with the boys. And I was telling them, I was literally word by word telling them, bro, I can't, I'm busy. I'm busy doing stuff. And one day, I messaged one of my best friends and I told him, it's enough, bro. It's enough. I'm not going out with you guys anymore. And I told them to start getting on self-improvement. I told them to start taking life more seriously, and they got so offended at me because I guess we didn't see eye to eye with each other. You know, I don't blame him at all, by the way. Like, we just have different goals. And I just thought, it's Maghrib time. But I just thought, you know what, I just can't waste my life anymore. I realized that every time I would go out with them, I would skip the gym. I would sleep extremely late. I would do bad habits. I would scroll all the time. I had nothing going on for me except that I just thought I can't waste my life anymore. I want to dedicate my life to doing something great so I can achieve something big for my parents. And the moment I got on deen, then I realized a bigger purpose. I'll get to that in a second, but I was being held back by my environment, by some people, by some mindsets. The mindset of mediocrity, the mindset of having fun all the time, the mindset of let me have fun right now so I can work a job that I hate later. So let me have fun right now so I can hate my life later. The mindset of let me have fun right now so I can hate my life later. So I can work at a trash job when I'm 30 years old and finally take my life seriously. I was like, there's no way, I'm not taking this advice. I'm not having fun. I'll rather work my ass off so when I'm 30 years old, I can go to Hajj and I can go to Umrah and I can look at myself in the mirror jacked out of my mind and I can have a wife that loves me and I can be like, you know what? I hope Allah is proud of me. I hope Allah is happy with me that I've taken the resources that He gave me and I've used that and I put that to good use. And as I told you, the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he said, a man is upon the religion of his best friend, of his khalili. Let one of you look at whom you befriend. And in fact, in Surah Mu'minun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and actually in various surahs and ayahs in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the person who wastes his speakings, like who wastes his life by doing random stuff, by wasting random time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the people who have conversations together but has no meaning to it. And there is a concept in Islam called lagwi, right? Lagwi is pretty much a concept, and it's a lot of the ulama say it's almost like a sin where people come together and speak about the most useless, random, mindless things, and there's nothing good in it. Everyone tries to seek meaningless fun, and then they still end up realizing that I just seeked dullness and my life wasn't actually fun. And then 10 years later, they realize I'm at the age of 30 and I have to suffer now. I have to work till I'm 67 years old. The issue is not just people. And as a Muslim, I'm not trying to say I'm better than this guy, because there are many people who are on deen better than me, and in front of Allah they are more precious to Allah than of course me. There are many people on deen that are focusing on Islam, and they may not necessarily have this mentality of achieving something big. I understand that, but I just feel like we're being ungrateful to Allah if we don't try to achieve that. Islam preaches about living a life of discipline. Islam preaches about living a life of eminence and success. Like, we should be successful as Muslims, and there are other people out there that make the excuse of not everyone could be successful, but we can ignore them. Let them be the ones who can not achieve success. But me and you could achieve some success. Let them think about and make all the excuses and have all the limiting beliefs. But me and you, akhi, or even sister, we can do something with our lives that are meaningful and fulfilling. We need to prove these people wrong, and we need to prove their mindsets wrong. What that's going to do is it's going to humble a lot of people around us. It's going to show our families and our cousins and our people, our surrounding people, that we don't have to live one way. For example, the Khabib family, right? The cousins of Khabib, a lot of them are fighters. But if you look at the other families that live in Dagestan, a lot of them are not. Because Khabib was probably one of the first people to actually fight in his family, which opened doors for his other cousins to be inspired. So they started fighting. And now we have Islam Makhachev. Now we have Khabib's cousins that are fighting in UFC. Like, the entire Khabib family was most of them are fighting. Why? Because Khabib was the first one to break out of the life of mediocrity. It's the same thing. We need to have boundaries and standards. If you're going to have some friends, that's fine. Just have boundaries with them, right? Tell them, I'm not going to go out late. I sleep at this time. I still want to have social time, but at specific times. And if there's someone that you feel close with and you feel like you're growing with them, reciprocate the value. Have some sort of friendship where you can reciprocate each other. Talk about stuff that makes sense. Talk about stuff that's going to grow, and do stuff together that's going to help you grow even more, right? Even if that's going out to a park with that one friend who's on the same level and mission as you, that's fine. Go out with the park, have some meaningful time with your friend. I'm not saying cut out everyone. That's the mistake that I made. What I'm saying is cut out the things that are holding you back and keep the things that are propelling you forward. So if you have a Muslim brother who has this mindset of at least not wasting his life, this Muslim brother might be someone who wants to work a normal job, but he might be someone who still wants to be disciplined. He might be someone who still wants to be fulfilling and stuff like that. So stay with him and go to the park with him or walk with him, go to the gym with him and speak with him as well about Islam and growth, and stay with like-minded people. And sometimes you gotta embrace the discomfort of being alone. That's just life. The last 2 years of my life was 99%, or not 99%, but 90% of the time I was alone. And again, that's a mistake of mine. If you have someone who's somewhat similar to you, reciprocate value, give him value so he can give you value as well. or give her value so she can give you value as well if you're a sister. All right, that's all it is. Just don't waste your life and remove the things that are cutting you back and holding you back. Hopefully this helped. Assalamu alaikum. I love you. Bye.